Alright, ladies and gentlemen, in this episode tunaenda mashinani and we are taking a look at 3 by-elections deeply. That's what's going on in Kasipul. Is it Boyd Were or is it Philippa Ruto that people are going to rally behind on the D-Day? And then also we are taking a look at Magarini constituency, the backyard of Amason Jeffa Kingi, who is currently the Speaker of the Senate of Kenya, and where there is now a deep contest between the DCP party candidate Stanley Kenga Karisa, who had the election nullified by the Supreme Court, and the minions of the government. And then there is also the old versus young curated story that is taking shape in Baringo County right now, that Gideon Moi has been called to be reserved for a special position alongside President Ruto in the government. So those are the 3 top stories today. This is the Civic Lens and I'm your host Ogola. Now, it's really commendable that on our last story alone we have garnered over 115 subscribers. Welcome to the Civic Lens, and if you are not yet part of the club, please press the subscribe button to join this club. Now, we are starting with the by-election in Kasipul. Sometimes back, the Member of Parliament for Kasipul Kabondo, Honorable Were, was gunned down in the roundabout next to Daystar University alongside Ngong Road. Just while driving home in his car, a rider rode closer to his car and gunned him down. So he died, and as a result of that, there is now a by-election that is supposed to be held in Kasipul constituency to replace him, so that the people of Kasipul can find a representative in government. Different people have come front to actually secure this position. Among them is Robert Riaga. This is the son of the late Meshach Riaga Ogalo, who was actually the president, or rather the Luo elder, president of the Luo elders. So his son, called Bior, is presenting himself to replace the late Ongondo Were in Kasipul's by-election. And then after that, there is Linda Ouma, who is actually the only lady, Linda Oko Ouma, to front herself in this particular position to replace Ongondo Were in Kasipul. Then there is Omondi Koyo of the National Liberal Party, who has also fronted his interest to replace the late Ongondo Were in that particular by-election that is set for 27th November alongside all other by-elections. Then there is Collins Okeyo of the Movement for Democracy and Growth Party. It's a very new party, or rather new within this region, that has been predominantly led by the ODM party, but he has also fronted his interest for that position. Now, all these individuals that I've mentioned aside, the contest in Kasipul has narrowed down between 2 individuals. One called Philippa Ruto, who the people in the ground are really listening to and rallying behind, and who is seen to be really bold to take on the leaders of ODM, or rather individuals that were sent to pacify the ground for the ODM candidate. He is seen speaking in a particular gathering where the governor of the region, the Homa Bay County, Honorable Gladys Wanga, is there, and is not afraid to call upon them not to celebrate or go on with any kind of celebrations when a member of the party, who is also a part of his security, has passed on. But that's just an isolated incident. In the ground, this gentleman called Philippa Ruto is said to be rallying so much support even if he did not win the ODM primaries that gave the ticket to Boyd Were. So let's have the conversation briefly between these two. You see, Boyd Were is the son of the late Ongondo Were. So there is a tendency in Kenyan politics that he is affiliated to this region, and you can also say the western region in a larger extent, that when a particular individual who is serving in government passes on, then as sympathy, the family member is often, accelerated to that position. In the western part of Kenya, we have seen it with the Wamalwa story, but in Nyanza specifically, other than the Were scenario we're seeing right now, when Kajwang passed on, the brother actually ascended very easily to the Senate position and has kept that position till date. He's even a chairperson of a committee within the Senate. So it's not new for this particular voter mass of Nyanza, specifically the ODM part of Nyanza, to rally behind a candidate that has lost the family member or who is being replaced. As a way of mourning with them or grieving with them, they always make that replacement. So as a result, the ODM party, after Ongondowere got gunned down, rallied behind Bodwere as their candidate. Bodwere is also the face of the Gen Z, which in another aspect you could say has introduced a new spectrum into the political scene of new Gen Zs now showing their interest to take up into these particular positions. Boyd has this support of the ODM party. If he's speaking and campaigning when now the ODM officials were sent to actually campaign for him, you'd say that the crowd will rally behind him. But then the crowd in Kasipul right now are torn between making a very hard decision, rallying behind the ODM party that has since been the party in that region and where Ongondowere was serving and that's affiliated to Raila Odinga, or charting their own path with an individual that they like Philip Aroko right now. And this is why they are having this particular dilemma. You see, if the people of Kasipul now rally behind the ODM party, it means they are rallying behind William Ruto, irrespective of the policies that the Gen Zs have been contesting against, including Bodwere, who is a Gen Z right now. Irrespective of all these things that the people have been saying, that Ruto should be one term, rallying behind ODM right now essentially means rallying behind Ruto. So the people of Kasipul are torn whether they should rally behind William Ruto in that larger spectrum, or they should chart a path of their own and elect someone like Philip Aroko that the ground is currently listening to replace Ongondowere in the national seat. So this is a development in that region that is taking its own growth by itself, and we are keeping our lenses at Kasipul to see how it's either going to be Philip Aroko or Bodwere, or whether it's going to be Linda Aoko Uma or Robert Riaga or Omondi Koyo or Collins Okeyo or whoever it is come the 27th of November 2025. So far from Kasipul and deep into the coastal region is another constituency called the Magarini constituency that is yet to face a by-election. So let's start from the beginning with Magarini constituency. Magarini constituency is located in the coastal area. This particular constituency is the backyard of the current Speaker of the Senate, Honorable Jefferson Amason Kingi. Now, Amason Kingi was a member of parliament of this particular region himself sometime, just the way when we were detailing about Mbeere North, we say Justin Muturi was also a member of parliament for that region sometime. So it's safe to say that the particular region that brought Kingi to the national limelight politically is the Magarini constituency seat. Now, after settling that, you understand that Magarini constituency for a long time, or the coastal area for a long time, has always been an ODM bedrock politically. But the story of Magarini is very interesting. It starts as early as 2002 with this current gentleman called Harrison Kombe. Harrison Kombe takes the seat of Magarini constituency in 2002 as a member of parliament under Shirika la Ungomano party. He serves until 2007, but his particular election, he's challenged in court, and in 2007 his position as member of parliament is nullified by the courts. So a by-election is held in Magarini constituency just before the national elections are held, and funny enough, he wins again. So Harrison Kombe wins after being blamed for ballot stuffing and actually altering results in 2007, and serves all the way. Now come 2002, they go to the ballot again. And this time he is facing a gentleman then from the United Democratic Alliance Party called Stanley Kenga Karisa. Stanley Kenga Karisa faces off Harrison Kombe in the ballot, that is in 2002, and almost whips him. But in a turn of events, the difference between Harrison Kombe, who is being declared the winner in the 2022 by-elections, and this other gentleman, Stanley Kenga Karisa, who allegedly whips him, is 20. The difference is 21 votes. 21 votes. Harrison then in that election had 11,946 votes, and Stanley gathered 11,925 votes. Very convenient. So Stanley lodges a complaint before the High Court and says that that particular election was not fair because honorable or not so honorable Harrison Kombe stuffed the ballots and altered the results. The High Court listens to his claim. It proceeds to the Court of Appeal because Kombe challenges. The Court of Appeal listens to its claim. It proceeds to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, about 1 year ago, agrees with Stanley Kenga Karisa and says that that particular election should be nullified and a new election be held because this not so honorable Harrison Kombe stuffed the ballot and paid particular individuals to alter the results. So that's 1 year ago. An election in this region had not taken place until now because for a long time, of course, the IEBC was not functional. So this, just like Baringo, is another area that has had no representation for over a year. You can now get that. For a period of 1 year, there has never been an MP in Magarini or in a place like, in other places, in other wards like Nyamira, Township Ward and such likes within the nation, because the IEBC was not fully composed. Now the IEBC has been composed and elections are set to happen in this region. And Stanley Kenga Karisa, who was a UDA candidate, now receives a call allegedly from President Ruto, who tells him to step down from that region for the purposes of sponsoring a broad-based candidate in the interests of Raila. Allegedly, he cries. He asks Ruto who betrays them. These are statements of some guy called Honorable Kachagwa, who says that these are the statements that Stanley Kenga did. After he cries, he proceeds to join the DCP party, where right now is the DCP candidate in that region. So this particular by-election is very interesting because one, it's as a result of an election petition that nullified the position of Harrison Kombe about a year ago. And then it also details betrayal, that the fact that Stanley Kenga himself, who nullified the elections successfully before the court, is now being asked down by his party leader to step down after successfully nullifying an election which, if was determined otherwise, would have just made him the member of parliament for Magarini automatically. And now he has to go to the DCP party, where also the current party leader was betrayed by his own party leader. It has a lot of mix in it. And so Stanley Kenga Karisa believes he's going to win this election just the way he did in 2022. And he believes that irrespective of whoever is in this particular ballot, he is going to win again if his difference between the votes declared and the votes he rightfully garnered was just 21 votes in 2022. Now the interesting take here, the civic lens, is that irrespective of the dreams that this Stanley Kenga guy has and the dreams that Harrison Kombe and all these other individuals who are fronting themselves for that seat might have, there is a Gen Z called Amos Katana who has fronted himself for that seat, and he's saying now it's time for the young people also to be considered in this area. This shows a pattern of faces of Gen Zs in these new by-elections, with Boyd Were in Kasipul being a Gen Z. Now we are seeing in Magarini also Amos Katana has presented his papers and he's saying he is yet to face whether it's Stanley or it's Harrison or it's any other individual who is going to contest for that seat. As a young person, we really wish him well, and I really do wish him well in this particular contest, that he sets apart the conflict between these two and becomes the preferred candidate that the people of Magarini will rally behind, to have a new young member of parliament who is 25-year-old coming from the region that is actually the backyard of the current speaker of the Senate of Kenya. That would really be an eyesore for the UDA party and for the broad-based government, but it will be a very big addition for the youth who are aspiring for positions of politics and power. Now, the last by-election is the Baringo by-election. Sometimes back we detailed a story of the Baringo by-election here at the Civic Lens, and we were saying how the lights were faring very well for an individual who is the son of the late President Moi, the current or the son of the president, Honorable Gideon Moi. Now, in a turn of events, in less than a week, a meeting has been held between the KANU and the UDA government that has created a new marriage between the two parties. And as a result, Gideon Moi has withdrawn his particular race on that area for other better arrangements that are going on within the government, which we will detail in another episode. Now, as a result of his exit, the government of the UDA candidate, preferred candidate Chimitei, who won with over 48,000 votes in the UDA party primaries, seems or hopes to be the candidate that takes over that region now that Gideon is getting into a broader arrangements with the UDA party leader in another government set that is not the Baringo County. But in an interesting turn of events here, the civic lens, just like Amos, who was chosen in the Bible and who is contesting for Magarini position, the Lord has chosen another Gen Z called Samuel Letasio from the Baringo County region. And the Baringo County supporters who are rallying behind Gideon Moi and who do not like President William Ruto have said that without Gideon Moi in the race, then they'd rather rally behind the 25-year-old Samuel Letasio to become the next senator of Baringo County. Of course, it's really interesting to see how these faces of Gen Zs are becoming talks in these new by-elections, and this is acting as test grounds for a lot of Gen Zs come 2027 to dare these grounds. In Kasipul, we are having Boy Duere, even though if the ground is still rallying behind Philip Aroko. In Magarini, we are having Amos Katana, chosen by God to actually contest against Stanley Kenga Karisa, who rightfully actually won the elections in 2022. And in Baringo, now that Gideon has rather dwindled down the Moi legacy, he has walked out to create room for a young man called Samuel Letasio, who, if the people fully rally behind, might be the youngest senator in the Kenyan government come 24th of November 2025. So we hope that God has chosen Samuel and Amos. We wish them well, and we keep our lenses in Magarini, in Baringo, and in Kasipul to keep you updated here at the Civic Lens.